Time is not money. That is the greatest lie ever told by civilization to keep you docile. Time is blood. Time is the raw, non-renewable energy of your existence, bleeding out drop by drop with every beat of your heart. In the primal equation of survival, speed was never a luxury. Speed was the dividing line between the eaters and the eaten. When a predator lunged from the tall grass, your ancestors didn't have the luxury of deliberation. They had milliseconds. The electrical impulse traveled from the eye to the amygdala, the ancient threat detection center in the skull, bypassing logic, bypassing reason, triggering an instantaneous explosion of cortisol and adrenaline. Run or fight, act now or cease to exist. This mechanism, this urgency instinct, is the biological turbo boost designed over millions of years to save your life in the face of imminent death. It is perfect. It is flawless in the wild. But today, you don't live in the wild. You live in a comfortable, climate-controlled zoo, and this very instinct, this sacred survival mechanism, has been hacked, weaponized, and turned against you to slaughter your autonomy. Look at yourself when you see that red banner on a screen. Flash sale ends in 15 nanominutes. A digital clock ticks down milliseconds. 14:59, 14:58. What happens inside your body? You think you are just looking at pixels on a screen, contemplating a purchase. But your ancient brain sees a closing cave door with a tiger on the outside. It screams, the window of opportunity is shutting. The resource is vanishing. Act. Your body dumps stress hormones into your system to sharpen your physical focus and fuel your muscles for a life or death struggle. But here is the grotesque tragedy of modern life. You don't need muscles to click a mouse. You don't need physical speed to buy a toaster or a subscription you don't need. Yet, your body prepares for war. This chemical cocktail has a devastating side effect that marketers have exploited with surgical precision. It chemically lobotomizes you. When urgency spikes, intelligence drops. It is a physiological seesaw. The blood literally drains from your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, the evolutionary newcomer responsible for planning, budgeting, rational thought, and impulse control, and rushes to your limbs and your hindbrain. You become a reactive organism. You become stupid, deliberately, physiologically stupid. The marketer's entire goal is to get you into this hot state, this zone of cognitive failure where you are incapable of asking the critical questions. Do I actually need this? Can I afford this? Is this real value? In the hot state, you are only capable of asking one primitive question. Can I catch this before it gets away? They turn a financial transaction into a hunt. And you, driven by the terrifying ancient fear of missing the kill and starving, bite the hook every single time. Why do discounts work so effectively on you? Do you really believe it's because you are a savvy shopper who loves saving money? That is the rational lie you tell yourself afterward to soothe your bruised ego. Discounts work because they signal a temporary, chaotic disruption in the dominance hierarchy of resources. In nature, valuable resources, a fresh kill, a prime territory, a fertile mate, are guarded by the strong. They require effort and risk to obtain. If a carcass is left unguarded on the savannah, it is a discount. It is free meat. But your instinct knows it won't be there long. Scavengers are coming. The lions might return. You must eat fast, gorge yourself, and run. A 50% off sticker triggers this exact scavenging reflex deep in your limbic system. Your brain interprets the price drop not as a financial calculation, but as a fleeting anomaly in the hostile environment that must be exploited immediately before others get there. You are not an investor looking for long-term value. In that moment, you are a hyena tearing at a carcass, terrified of the competition. Let's dissect the grotesque phenomenon of Black Friday or any major sales event. Look at the footage. It is anthropological gold. Civilized adults, people with university degrees, jobs and families, trampling each other at 5 a.m., biting, screaming, fighting physically over a flat-screen TV. Why? Are they starving? Are they freezing? No. They are under the spell of hyper-urgency. The artificial limitation of time, doorbusters only until 8 a.m., combined with the artificial limitation of resources, creates a high-fidelity simulation of a survival of the fittest scenario. The department store becomes the drought-stricken savannah. The cheap TV is the last waterhole. The polite veneer of humanity is stripped away in seconds, revealing the disparate, frightened animal underneath that believes if it doesn't grab now, it will never have. This is the immense paralyzing power of the deadline. The word itself has grim origins. In prison camps, it was a physical line around the perimeter. If a prisoner crossed it, they were shot dead. In marketing, the deadline is the psychological boundary of pain. Offer expires tonight. They are threatening you with pain, not physical death, but the psychological pain of regret, which to the ego is almost as terrifying. The pain of being the loser who has to pay full price tomorrow while the winners feast on the discount today. You are not running towards the product with desire. You are running away from the anticipated feeling of loss. It is negative motivation in its purest form. And notice the color coding there. It is never subtle. Red, orange, yellow, the colors of fire, blood, and venomous insects. Evolution taught your ancestors over millions of years to pay supreme attention to these colors because they signal immediate danger. When a website paints the buy now button in pulsating red, accompanied by a ticking clock, they are hijacking your visual cortex. They are screaming fire in a crowded theater and pointing to the checkout page as the only exit doors. You click, not because you want the product. You click because you desperately want to stop the alarm ringing in your head. You buy peace of mind. You buy the cessation of the stress they created. It is a protection racket. They beat you with anxiety first, and then they sell you the relief in the form of a purchase. Consider the digital gamification of this anxiety, like the lightning deal bar on major retail sites. It is a visual representation of time and resources running out simultaneously. It turns consumption into a perverse sport. You watch the bar fill up, 80% claimed, 90% claimed. You feel a physical itch under your skin. That itch is dopamine anticipation mixed with cortisol fear. It is the exact same neural pathway activated in gambling addicts watching a roulette wheel. When you finally click add to cart at the last possible second, you get a rush. You think, I won. You didn't win anything. You lost. You just spent hours of your limited life energy earning money to buy something you didn't know existed 5 minutes ago, just to beat a timer set by an algorithm designed to harvest you. You are a lab rat pressing a lever to avoid an electric shock, convincing yourself you love the pellet they feed you. Look at how urgency destroys your ability to compare, which is the foundation of rational decision-making. Comparison requires time. It requires what psychologists call System 2 thinking. Slow, deliberate, analytical, expensive in terms of energy. Urgency forces a hard shift to System 1. Fast, intuitive, emotional, cheap. By imposing a severe time limit, they blind you to the context. You don't check competitors. You don't read the negative reviews. You don't ask your spouse if this is in the budget, because there is no time. This is the strategy of the ambush predator. The crocodile doesn't fight the zebra on land where the zebra has a chance. It drags it into the water, into its own domain, into the murky depths where the zebra is helpless and disoriented. The countdown timer is the water. They drag you into the temporal deep end where your logic drowns, and then they feed. They use event-based urgency to weave a narrative around the trap. Birthday sale, going out of business, summer clearance. These are stories constructed to bypass your skepticism. If they just said, buy this quickly for no reason, your critical factor might kick in. But when they say, we are clearing out the warehouse for new stock, so we must sell now, your brain says, a logical reason. The resource is being flushed due to external circumstances. This is a legitimate opportunity. I must act. It gives your rational mind a bone to chew on, while your emotional mind reaches for the wallet. But let's be brutally real. How many stores in your town have been going out of business for 5 years straight? It's a lie. The only thing going out of business is your critical thinking skills. The ultimate trick, the double tap to the head of your resistance, is the abandoned cart email sequence. You walked away. You won. Your neocortex regained control for a moment, and you escape the trap. But then, an hour later, a notification pops up on the device you are addicted to. You forgot something. Your items are lonely. Complete your order in 10 minutes for an extra 5% off. They are hunting you down. They are re-engaging the urgency loop even after you have retreated. They know that once you leave the hot state and cool down, the probability of you buying drops to near zero. So they must reignite the fire. They treat you like prey that got away, tracking your digital blood trail to drag you back into the kill zone before you fully recover your senses. This constant bombardment of artificial urgency does more than just drain your bank account. It rewires your nervous system. By constantly triggering your fight or flight response for trivialities, you are training your body to live in a state of chronic, low-grade stress. Your baseline cortisol levels rise. You become jittery, reactive, unable to focus on deep work or long-term planning because your brain is constantly scanning the horizon for the next expiring offer. You are losing the ability to inhabit the present moment because you are always terrified of missing some imaginary future benefit. You are selling your peace of mind for a 20% discount on garbage. So where does this leave you? You are standing in the middle of a digital battlefield, naked, armed only with a credit card, surrounded by snipers who have studied your evolutionary biology better than you know it yourself. Every timer is a target lock. Every flash sale is a baited trap. Every notification is a prod to keep the cattle moving toward the slaughterhouse. The first step to breaking this cycle is the hardest because it requires you to admit how easily played you are. You must stop lying to yourself that you are in control. Write out your most obvious illusions about saving money and being a smart shopper. Admit that you are stuck in a reactive loop. Admit that when the clock starts ticking, you stop thinking. This is not shameful. It is a statement of biological fact. Shameful is continuing to pretend you are the master when you are the puppet. Blind repetition of other people's scenarios, reacting to their timers, their sales, their manufactured crises is a path to nowhere. It is the path of the prey. You need to develop the primal pause. This is the counter instinct. When you feel that spike in your chest, tightness, that shallow breathing, that desperate desire to click and move fast, stop, freeze physically. Take your hand off the mouse, put the phone down. Recognize the trigger for what it is, a biological hack. Say to yourself, I'm feeling cortisol. Why? Is there a lion? Is my house on fire? No. There is some pixels changing color on a screen, programmed by some geek in Silicon Valley to make me dance. Defy the deadline. This is an act of rebellion. If the deal expires in 10 minutes, let it expire. Watch the clock hit zero. Watch the offer vanish. Feel the anxiety rise, peak, and then realize that nothing happened. The sky didn't fall. You didn't die. You are still here. If the product was truly essential to your survival or your mission, you would have bought it at full price without hesitation. If you only want it because it's on sale, you don't want the product. You want the dopamine hit of the transaction. You are addicted to the feeling of securing the deal, not the value of the item itself. You must adopt the mindset of the abundant hunter, not the starving scavenger. The abundant hunter knows that resources are cyclical. There will always be another sale. There will always be another version of the product. There will always be another opportunity. He does not scramble for crumbs at the edge of the fire. He waits for the feast. When you rush, you signal weakness to the world and to yourself. You signal that you believe resources are scarce and you are afraid they will vanish. When you move slowly, deliberately, when you refuse to be hurried by external pressure, you signal power. You signal that you control your own time. The apex predator never rushes unless he is in the final moment of the strike. The rest of the time, he is still. He is observant. He is patient. Be the predator in your own life. Look at the countdown timer and let it hit zero as an exercise in sovereignty. Feel the immense power of doing absolutely nothing when the world is screaming at you to act. That is the moment you reclaim your mind from the hijackers. That is the moment you stop being a consumer unit and start being a sovereign entity. Let them panic. Let the herd stampede over the cliff in pursuit of the last chance. You walk at your own pace. The primal code is not about speed, it is about control. And the only way to win the rigged game of manufactured urgency is to refuse to play by their clock. I know many of you will hear this and nod, and then 5 minutes later you will click on a limited time offer because the addiction is too strong. You are too deeply integrated into the herd. Your neural pathways are too cemented in reactive patterns. For those of you who realize that your own willpower is not enough to break decades of conditioning, who understand that you are drowning in noise and cannot find the surface alone, there are other ways. There are structured routes designed to deprogram the scavenger mindset and install the operating system of the predator. These paths are not easy, and they are not for the tourists who just want to feel a little better. They are for those ready to pay the price to regain control of their existence. But that is your choice. Continue to run on their treadmill until you collapse, or step off and build your own path. The clock is ticking, but this time, it's the clock of your actual life, not a sales banner. TikTok. Let's descend deeper into the madness. We have discussed the countdown timer, the simple digital clock, but there is a more sophisticated, more brutal engine of urgency. The auction. This is the Colosseum of consumption. It is not just you against the clock. It is you against them, the faceless enemy, the rival. eBay, real estate wars, NFT drops. They all operate on auction fever. This is where urgency meets aggression. When you place a bid, you're not stating a price. You're claiming territory. You're pissing on the fence post. And then someone outbids you. What happens? It's a personal insult. It's a challenge to your dominance. Your primal brain screams, he thinks he is stronger. He thinks he can take my resource. You are no longer thinking about the value of the item. The item is irrelevant. It could be a stamp, a JPEG, or a rusty car. The goal has shifted from acquisition to victory. This is competitive arousal. Your adrenaline spikes. Your heart rate matches that of a sprinter. Logic is burned to ash in the fire of competition. And you bid again. Higher. Much higher than you planned. Why? Because the pain of losing the battle is greater than the pain of overpaying. In economics, this is called the winner's curse. The winner of an auction is almost always the loser in reality because they are the one who overpaid the most. They paid a premium for their ego. But the brilliance of the system is that it uses the urgency of the other person's action to drive you. You don't have time to think because he is moving. It's a kinetic war. The platform sits back, collects the fees, and watches the monkeys tear each other apart over a banana that isn't even ripe. Now look at the live webinar trap. Join us live. Replay will be taken down. Why? Why take it down? It's digital. It costs nothing to host because Leave creates a singular point in time. It forces synchronization. It forces you to drop everything, your family, your work, your health, to sit in front of a screen at 7 p.m. You are there. The host is talking. He creates a pressure cooker. Bonuses only for those on the live call. Fast action takers only. He divides the audience into action takers, alphas, and tire kickers, betas. He shames hesitation. If you can't make a decision now, you'll never be successful. He weaponizes your fear of mediocrity. And because it is Leave, you feel the collective presence of others. The chat is scrolling fast. I'm in. Bot. Me too. This is the stampede effect. You can't see these people. They might be bots. They might be paid shills. But your social brain registers the movement. The herd is running. I must run. You click. You buy. You wake up the next morning with a $2,000 course on how to breathe air and a hangover from the dopamine spike. You were hunted in real time. Let's analyze the product launch formula, the holy grail of internet marketers. It is a scripted drama designed to manufacture urgency where none exists. It has a rhythm like a drumbeat of war. Phase 1, the sideways sales letter. They don't ask for money yet. They give you value. Free videos. I just want to help. This activates the reciprocity instinct, which we discussed. You feel indebted. Phase 2, the anticipation. Doors open on Tuesday. They build a dam. They hold back the water. Pressure builds. Your curiosity loops are open. What is it? Can I afford it? Phase 3, the open cart. Explosion. We are live. Emails fly. We are overwhelmed. Server might crash. They create the illusion of a riot. Even if no one is buying, they tell you the story's on fire. Phase 4, the takeaway. Cart closes Friday. Gone forever. This is the Disney Vault strategy. Disney used to release a movie on DVD, then put it in the vault for 10 years. Artificial scarcity plus artificial deadline. If you didn't buy The Lion King in that 2-month window, you couldn't get it. This created a secondary market. It created a panic. Mothers fought in Walmart for a cartoon. Why? Because the access was being threatened. When a marketer says this offer is going away, they are triggering your loss aversion. You aren't buying the product, you are buying the option to use it later. You hoard it. Look at your hard drive. Look at your cloud storage. How many gigabytes of urgent courses, limited time bundles, and exclusive PDFs are rotting there? Graveyards of urgency past. You bought them because you were afraid to lose them, not because you intended to use them. You are a digital hoarder, burying yourself in the debris of your own impulses. And what about the wait list? The clubhouse model. You can't get in. You need an invite. Join the waitlist. This turns the product into a forbidden fruit. If I beg you to join my app, you ignore me. If I tell you you can't come in, we are full, you will bang on the door. You will text your friends. Do you have an invite? You will beg to be let in. And when you finally get that email, you're in. You feel a rush of validation. I was chosen. No, you weren't chosen. You were played. You were kept in a holding pen until your desperation peaked. And then they opened the gate to extract your data and your attention. The waitlist is a tool to measure demand and spike the dopamine of the herd before the slaughter. We need to understand the chemistry. Why is urgency so addictive? Because it simplifies life. Modern life is complex, infinite choices, ambiguity, nuance. It is exhausting for the brain. Urgency destroys nuance. It creates a binary world. Act or die, buy or lose. This clarity is seductive. When you are in a flash sale panic, you don't worry about the meaning of life. You don't worry about your marriage. You don't worry about climate change. You worry about the timer. It narrows your focus to a singular point. This state of tunnel vision is a relief from the burden of consciousness. It is a trance. And when you click buy, you get a hit of dopamine, reward, and a reduction of cortisol, relief. This cycle, stress, action, relief, is the exact mechanism of obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. Marketers are essentially inducing temporary OCD in the population. They create an obsession, the deal, trigger the anxiety, the timer, and sell the ritual, the purchase, to relieve the anxiety. You are not a shopper, you are a patient, and they are the drug dealers dispensing the temporary cure for the sickness they injected into you. Consider micro-urgency, the push notification. It buzzes, your pocket vibrates, Pavlov's bell, you check it instantly. Someone liked your photo. Breaking news? 20% off. It fragments your attention span. You live in a state of constant low-level emergency. You never enter deep work. You never enter flow. You're essentially a squirrel in traffic, constantly twitching, looking for the next thread or the next nut. This destroys your ability to think long term. You cannot plan a 5-year strategy for your life when you are reacting to 5-second urgencies. You become a tactical creature, not a strategic one. You win the moment, the sale, but you lose the war, your financial freedom. Block 5. The protocol of the sovereign mind. So how do we deprogram this? How do we kill the squirrel and wake the lion? The standard advice is discipline. Rubbish. Discipline fails when chemistry takes over. You need structure and rules of engagement. Protocol 1. The 72-hour rule. If it is urgent, it is forbidden. Make this a law. If a website says ends in 24 hours, you automatically disqualify it. You say, my policy is I do not buy under duress. If the deal expires, let it expire. If you truly need it, you will buy it next week at full price. But I'll lose money. No, you will pay a freedom tax. Paying full price is the price of your sovereignty. It proves to your subconscious that you dictate the timing, not them. Ironically, this saves you thousands in the long run because you stop buying trash you don't need. Protocol 2. The inbox 0. Tolerance. Unsubscribe ruthlessly. Every email that contains the words last chance, hurry, running out is an enemy combatant. It is an attempt to breach your perimeter. Do not just delete, unsubscribe, block. Treat your inbox like your living room. Would you let a screaming salesman stand in your living room shouting buy now every morning? No, you would throw him out. So why do you let them into your phone? Clear the noise. Silence the bells. Protocol 3. The calculation of life energy. Before you buy, convert the price into hours of your life, not your hourly wage, your after-tax, after-expenses disposable hourly wage. For most people, a $500 TV is not $500. It is 50 hours of sitting in a cubicle you hate. It is a week of your life. Is that gadget worth a week of your existence? Is it worth missing your child's bedtime for 5 days? When you frame it as time scarcity, your life, versus product urgency, their lie, the equation shifts. You realize that keeping your money time is the real urgency. Protocol 4. The anti-auction mindset. If you see a timer, assume it is a lie. Assume the stock is infinite. Assume the price will drop later. Assume the live webinar is a recording. 99% of the time you will be right. Cynicism is your shield. Doubt is your armor. Look at the red button and see it for what it is. A pixel. It has no power. You are the one with the credit card. You are the one with the energy. You are the prize. They are dancing for you. Make them wait. Make them sweat. The moment you realize that they need you more than you need them, the spell breaks. Protocol 5. Embrace the missed opportunity. JOMO. Joy of missing out. Practice missing out on purpose. See a sale? Ignore it. Feel the sting. Good. Watch it pass. Realize you survived. Realize your life didn't get worse. In fact, it got better. You kept your focus. You kept your resources. Train your loss aversion to fear losing your freedom, not losing a discount. Flip the script. The real loss is not the 20% off. The real loss is the loss of self-control. We are done with the analysis. Now comes the execution. You have two choices. You can close this video and go back to the feed. You can let the next notification drag you by the nose ring into the next funnel. You can continue to be a reactive bundle of nerves, twitching at every ping, filling your house with boxes of regret, feeding the machine with your sweat and blood. You can die a consumer, or you can cut the wires. You can decide right now that your attention and your timeline are sacred territory. No one enters without a visa. No one dictates the tempo but you. When the world screams faster, you slow down. When the world screams more, you say enough. When the world screams now, you say when I say so. This is the primal code. The predator does not panic. The predator does not rush. The predator waits. And when he moves on his own terms. The clock is ticking, not their clock. Yours, your life, your death. That is the only deadline that is real. Everything else is just noise. Turn off the noise and begin.